everybody. Great to have you here with us. Welcome to the Palm Beach Church, our midweek classes, our online midweek classes, as we wrap up our series for the month of June on Proverbial Wisdom. That's what we've been talking about. That's what I've been talking about from the book of Proverbs. And here's what we've looked at so far, and what Proverbs says about, what proverbial wisdom teaches about. And the first thing I talked about is how proverbial wisdom teaches us, or tells us, trust God. Put your trust in God. Secondly, be righteous. Be right in your relationship with God and with others. Third, have a learner's heart. Be someone that wants wisdom, that's looking for knowledge. The fourth thing looked at in the book of Proverbs is how proverbial wisdom tells us to get advice. You know, it tells us that where there are many counselors, victory is assured. And then it tells us, proverbial wisdom teaches us to stay humble. Stay humble. Be humble before God. Talked about also that on Sunday, this last Sunday, on our online service, talked about from Proverbs, keeping calm and keeping a tight rein on our tongues, and just the power that our words have. We're going to close out this series from the book of Proverbs on proverbial wisdom teaches us to choose wisely. Choose wisely. Now, look in Proverbs chapter 1. If you could turn your Bibles there, in Proverbs chapter 1, read with me, starting in verse 20. Proverbs 1, verse 20 says, out in the open, wisdom calls aloud. Now, understand that this is as if wisdom is talking. Okay, it's not necessarily like God telling us this. This is wisdom talking. Out in the open, wisdom calls aloud. She raises her voice in the public square. On top of the wall, she cries out. At the city gate, she makes her speech. How long will you who are simple love your simple ways? Again, this is wisdom speaking out. How long will you who are simple love your simple ways? How long will mockers delight in mockery, and fools hate knowledge? Repent at my rebuke, then I will pour out my thoughts to you. I will make known to you my teachings. But since you refuse to listen when I call, and no one pays attention when I stretch out my hand, since you disregard all my advice and do not accept my rebuke, I in turn will laugh when disaster strikes you. I will mock when calamity overtakes you. When calamity overtakes you like a storm, when disaster sweeps over you like a whirlwind, when distress and trouble overwhelm you, then they will call to me, but I will not answer. They will look for me, but will not find me, since they hated knowledge and did not choose to fear the Lord, since they would not accept my advice and spurned my rebuke. They will eat the fruit of their ways and be filled with the fruit of their schemes. For the waywardness of the simple will kill them, and the complacency of fools will destroy them. But whoever listens to me will live in safety and be at ease without fear of harm. Now, important, this is not God saying this. This is wisdom speaking to us. And wisdom is saying, because if you don't look for me, or speaking from the point of view of not listening to wisdom. It says, because you didn't look for me, because you did not find this important, it says, when you need wisdom, I won't be there. And that's basically what the Proverbs telling us, is as if wisdom is telling us, if you don't seek me now, well, you have a chance. If you don't seek to make wise choices, and you don't seek this godly knowledge and to know God's wisdom, if you don't seek it, when the time comes where you need that wisdom will not be there. And instead of bearing the fruit of living by the wisdom of God, you'll suffer the consequences of living by your own wisdom. Choose wisdom. It's something that has to be chosen. It does not force its way in. It does not happen by osmosis. Our wisdom is something that has to be chosen. It doesn't just happen. We don't get wiser. Not everyone gets wiser with age. Age is important to get wiser, but if we know a lot of unwise I'm sure we all know a lot of unwise older people, because it doesn't just happen naturally. It doesn't happen by osmosis. It does not happen simply with time. It happens with time if we're seeking wisdom. If we're wanting to grow, if we're seeking to grow in our knowledge of God's way, of God's will, and of God's wisdom. I want to close off, again, this series talking about choosing wisely. Proverbial wisdom teaches us to choose wisely. Proverbial wisdom teaches us to consider our choices. And we consider our choices by considering, what's best. Not just best for me, but best for who I want to be. Best for where I'm trying to go. And that's the question as we start off here is, do your decisions match what you're wanting to accomplish? Do your decisions match who you want to be? A couple different series of Proverbs we're going to be looking at tonight. The first one is Proverbs to keep in mind when making choices. These are some Proverbs to keep in mind when we're making choices. If we could put that up as Proverbs, we'll start off with Proverbs 11:4. Wealth is worthless. Now, these Proverbs remind us, again, that in choosing wisely, in making wise choices with in life. It's not saying that you can't. It's not that you can't be rich and righteous at the same time. It's just saying make sure you have that in the right order. You could be rich and righteous. Just make sure it's in the right order. That my decisions are based on my righteousness, and my decisions are based on me wanting to be right with God, wanting to be right with others. My decisions are based on me wanting to be a godly man, being a disciple of Jesus. That comes first. And that's what these Proverbs is not about, not wanting to be successful, or it's not even about not being rich or having money, or trying to make as much money as you can. It's not speaking against that. It's just saying, just keep in mind what is most important. Choose wisely. And I think, our ability to choose wisely starts with our conviction of choosing our path and understanding, okay, what's the path that I am on? What is, how in Hebrews 12 it says, run with perseverance the race marked out for you. And it's keeping in mind, man, what's the race that I'm running? Because it's very easy in this world to get caught up with the race of this world. And to measure our success and measure who I am, as a person, or to measure ourselves with others in the world. And we got to keep in mind, man, what race am I running? Like I'm living in this world, and there's certainly things that we all like and have in this world, but what race am I running? Because for us to be able to choose wisely, we first need to remember, what race am I choosing to run? In Matthew 7, Jesus says, Matthew 7, 13 and 14, many of us know this passage, it says, enter through the narrow gate. For wide is the gate, broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate, narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. So first we decide, well, What's the road that I want to be on? What's the race that I'm trying to run? See, and choosing wisely has to do with, okay, if this is the road that I'm on, if this is the path that I've chosen, if this is the race I want to run, choosing wisely is about making choices that are going to help me to grow, is going to help me to be strengthened, are going to help me to run that race. The second set of Proverbs is Proverbs to keep in mind when choosing our relationships. If we could turn to Proverbs 12, we could put those up there. Proverbs 12, verse 26 says, the righteous choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. Proverbs 13:20, walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. And Proverbs 18:24, one who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. You know, when it comes to our relationships, when it comes to, again, you know, making disciples, to make disciples, we're making friends, right? That's part of making disciples, is making friends, is making, with those who are making friends, is having an impact in them, is teaching God's word, teaching God's way, teaching about God's wisdom. So we're constantly, as disciples, prayerfully, we're constantly looking to make friends and to reach people and to make a difference in people's lives. Here he's talking about who are the relationships that we have that we count on. Who do we listen to? Who are the people that we are allowing to influence us? Okay, that's the level of friendship that we're talking about here. Is who am I influenced by? And choosing wisely is about choosing those friendships wisely. It's not about not being friends to anybody. We got to be friends to everybody that God puts around us. We're looking to as we share the gospel, as we serve people, we're looking to make friends and have an impact and making a difference in people's lives. But who are the people that we choose to influence us, to listen to? Proverbs says, choose those friends carefully. The righteous person chooses those friends carefully. And Proverbs 13 tells us, because if you walk, when you're walking with the wise, you become wise. But the companion of fools suffers harm. So choose those friends wisely. Think about, who am I trying to become? And if you're a disciple of Jesus, that's an easy one, right? We're trying to become like Christ. So who am I going to allow to influence me? Well, those are going to help me become more like Jesus. Like, those are the intimate relationships I want to have. We want to have a lot of people that we impact and that we know and that we help. And if we're trying to make disciples, we're going to end up making a lot of friends. But those that I am influenced by, if I'm going to choose wisely, I'm going to choose those that are helping me to run this race. I'm going to choose those that are going to help me get to where I'm trying to go, which is to be more and more like Christ. So when you think about the relationships that you have, right? And again, we have all kinds of relationships. You have some relationships that, because they're there, right? You have your neighbors, you have friends, you have family, we have all these different relationships. But who am I being influenced by? Who do I gravitate to? Who do I look to for advice? Who do I look to as an example? Who do I have around me that's helping me to become the man or the woman that God created me to be? And that's why in Proverbs 18, it says that the one who has unreliable friends comes to ruin. Unreliable, not in the sense of, I don't think people are just unreliable because they're not there. Unreliable in the sense of, man, I can't rely on them to give me godly advice. And the person with unreliable friends, and please understand, it's not about for us to make disciples, we need to make friends. I'm talking about who we have around us that we choose to influence us, to teach us, to seek advice from. And Proverbs 18 says if all we have are unreliable friends that we can't really rely on to give godly advice, it says we come to ruin. It says there is a friend, Proverbs 18 says, there is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. See, and that's the friend that I'm talking, that closer than a brother friendship. Choose those wisely. You know, the relationship that you have between husband and wife, choose that wisely. So many times, you know, as singles, again, being single in the church, you know, I was single for 6 years, and yes, and many of you been single for longer than that. But I think this, you know, sometimes that idea of, or that conversation about, you know, if you're a Christian, who should you date or who can you date, is like, it's not about who you can date or who you can marry. It should be about, man, who do you want? What kind of person do you want to marry? Or, you know, hopefully you want to marry someone who's going to help you grow in your pursuit of Jesus. And to go back to the beginning, choosing wisely is about choosing what is best. It's about having the right priority. So as you choose a partner for life, I would say that's probably, besides your relationship with God, that's going to be certainly in this world, choosing your partner for life, that's the most important relationship you'll have. Man, we got to choose wisely. Choose wisely. Choose a person. Your thinking shouldn't just be, who can I marry? Who can I date? The question should be, who should I marry? Who should I date? Choose wisely. The third set of Proverbs we'll look at has to do with how to choose how we use our money and our resources. Even when it comes to using our money, when it comes to using our time, when it comes to using what God has given us, choose wisely. Proverbs 21 says this: the wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down. Proverbs 11:25, a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. And Proverbs 22 verse 9, the generous will themselves be blessed, for they share their food with the poor. And all these have to do with how we use our money. But I would say, again, the most important resources that God gives us is time, money, talent, and of all those things, I believe we've been made stewards of. And anything that God gives us, we should use it wisely. We should make wise choices when it comes to how we use these resources: time, talent, and yes, money. And in Proverbs 21, the first one we read, tells us that the wise person, he stores up the choice food. The fool just gulps theirs down. You know, make wise choices when it comes to your money. You know, so many times, you know, when we talk about tithing, I know a lot of times what keeps people from tithing is just how we use our money. I mean, it's very hard to give sacrificially if we're already living beyond what we make. And, you know, we're surrounded. And here's why, again, going back to the beginning, it's really important to have in mind, what's the race I'm running? What's the path that I am choosing to be on? Because we get caught up in the things of this world, and we start chasing after the things of this world, and we start making bad choices when it comes to how we use our time, with how we use our talent, with how we use our money, with who we listen to. And so in making these bad choices, then when it comes time to give, when it comes time to be generous, we can't be as generous as we'd like to be because we've made bad choices with our money. Choose wisely. Choose wisely, because a generous person, the proverb tells us, will prosper. The generous person will themselves be blessed. Before that, we got to have this conviction that the things that God has given me, I've been made a steward of. In Proverbs 6, we're not going to get into it now, but you can read Proverbs 6:6-11, and it says, go to the ant. Look at the ant. The ant knows that the ant just, in fact, it says, go to the ant, you sluggard. And notice how the choices that the ant makes, how it stores up food for later on. And it's just telling us, it's like, be wise with how we use these resources. And I'm going to finish off in Proverbs 26. 26 verse 12. We could put that slide up. Do you see a person wise in their own eyes? There's more hope for a fool than for them. I want to finish this off as we look in Proverbs. And again, there's so many other Proverbs we could look at, so many other themes. And I want to encourage you in the book of Proverbs, if you haven't read it, just pick out themes and study them out in Proverbs. There's so many different themes that Proverbs teaches on. So as you look at, what Proverbial Wisdom teaches on, we've looked at relationships or choosing wisely or trusting God. There's so many other themes you can look at, but remember this in Proverbs 26:12. Do you see a person wise in their own eyes? There's more hope for a fool than for them. Don't be wise in your own eyes. Be someone who's seeking out the wisdom of God. This does not happen naturally. It won't just kind of happen with time. Let's be followers of Jesus who want to have the wisdom of Jesus. Next Wednesday, we'll start a whole new series. In fact, Dan Allison, our brother Dan Allison, who along with Mary lead our ministry in the Port St. Lucie area, he will be teaching these next few Wednesdays. He recently, Dan Mary did a couple different series for our brothers and sisters in the Broward Church on serving and on being silent before God. So he'll be speaking on those two things this coming month of July. So check us out next Wednesday, the same YouTube and Facebook channel. Until then, have a great night and God bless.